Last time on The Truth Finder, bank users' accounts were getting secretly robbed, and police had no clue who was behind all the robberies. Later, police found that the robbery was done with an employee's personal IP address. The police checked all the personal IP addresses of all the employees and soon found an employee guilty. The police arrested the employee, but after 1 week of his arrest, another robbery took place with the same IP address. Now, Mr. Rana was under tremendous pressure from his superiors because he had arrested an innocent person and was unable to stop the robberies. He was dumbstruck after hearing this and had no clue what to do next. Since he knew that the robbers were using the IP address of bank, his last option was to block that IP address. But his expert didn't agree on this and said, if we block the IP address, the bandits will either hack another IP address or they will flew with the money of the account holders. He continued, our first priority is to prove the insurance companies that the accounts were looted so that at least people can claim their money. After listening to the expert, Mr. Rana remembered that the bank server was never hacked in the first place. That means the robbers were getting IP address with some other technique. Mr. Rana asked his team to check the bank's server system if they could find a way to sneak into their system and get the IP address of an employee. After his order, the team checked the backend programming and they found a bug with which any hacker can easily get the IP address of any employee. Mr. Rana said, now we know how the robbers were sneaking in and out of the service system so easily, and now we will be ready and wait for the next robbery. The team was excited and alert at the same time, waiting for the robbers to make their move. After 1 week, another robbery took place, and the IP address was accessed from a blue-colored Omni van at 3 a.m., parked on the roads of Mangolpuri. Before police could charge on the van and arrest the robbers, they started the car and ran on the roads of Mangolpuri, chased by the police cars. All the exit points were blocked by the police to catch the robbers. After chasing for some time, the police lost the track of the blue-colored Omni. A search operation was initiated to find the blue-colored Omni, but the police found nothing. When Mr. Rana was told about his missing car and also that they had searched every road of Mangolpuri, then he suggested the supervisor of the search team to stop finding on the roads that they had searched 10 times. Search those places where they didn't look once. After taking Mr. Rana's advice, he took his phone and asked if there were any Omni van that had towed in last 2 days by police. He was told that 3 vans had been towed in last 3 days. When the police checked those vans, they found one green-colored van in which CPU and hard drives were stored. The police found that the car was painted with a special color whose color varies in sunlight and lamplight. In these CPUs, they found the records of the robbed people. With these hard drives, police closed the case and people claimed the insurance. Mr. Rana and official met again for a final goodbye. The expert told Mr. Rana that this case was one of the difficult cases he had handled and cursed those bandits who robbed people's hard-earned money. Mr. Rana told him that they seemed to be good people to me. Expert gave a weird expression to Mr. Rana and asked why. Mr. Rana told him that robbers extracted money at least 5 times from the bank accounts of 50 people, and still the approximate amount that had been robbed was 30,000 rupees only. Anyone could have robbed lakhs of money by now. Second, they robbed only 50 people. There are more than 50 people living in Mangolpuri and hundreds of people extract money from those ATMs. Third, they had accessed IP address of one bank employee every time. They could have accessed different IP addresses at each time of robbery. If you think about it carefully, you will find that all these robberies were done to bring that bug in the internet server of bank in your notice. That is why in starting only 20 rupees were stolen from accounts, but when that didn't work, the bandits increased the amount after every 1 week. They wait for 1 week to see what actions police was taking. The expert interrupted Mr. Rana and said, you are saying that those people were grey hat hackers? Mr. Rana asked, grey hat what? Expert said, grey hat hackers means who hacks one system without permission, and if find any weakness or bug in the system, they inform the owner of the system. Similarly, there are white hat hackers who are called ethical hackers and black hat hackers who hacks one system without permission and use the owner's data for their own greedy purposes. He continued, so you are saying that these people found robbery their way to inform the bank account their server weakness? Mr. Rana said, I was also confused that why one will go that far for just make sure that the bank will notice their server weakness. To clarify their doubts, they went to the bank and asked one employee that if anyone wants to report about any error in system or server, whom they will report to. The employee said to the bank manager. Mr. Rana asked the expert if they checked the manager's IP address. He said no. After checking manager's IP address, police found that manager was trailing 1 to 5 rupees for many accounts secretly using that bug because no one would track record of such a small amount. After interrogation, he also confirmed that a person did come to his office telling about the bug in the server, but he threatened him that if he didn't keep his mouth shut, the manager will call the police since he had hacked into the bank system without permission. The 50 people were the last people on the manager's robbed list, and through the robberies, the robbers want the police to check the manager's system. And if they had just checked the manager's system before the employees, then the case would have solved on that day when they mistakenly arrested the employee of the bank. Still, all is well that ends well. See you next time on The Truth Finder.